Welcome to the Clear Brand Academy podcast, where we take the mystery out of marketing and help you get more leads and sales with a clear brand and proven marketing tactics. I'm your host, Alexander Toth. Today, I am once again joined by our business development manager, Josh Ramsey. And today, we are going to have a fantastic conversation about marketing. Specifically, what is marketing? And why does it matter? We have seen and heard about and talked to folks about this massive misunderstanding that a lot of marketers and marketing directors and the people who are actually doing the marketing in companies, there's this misunderstanding between them and the people that they report to. And there's a lot of reasons why. And so we're going to dive into some of this today. But Josh has been working directly with some of the folks in our Clear Brand Amplify program. This is a program where folks are able to use our systems to build out their marketing department. And he's heard of some interesting insights from this program. What have you been hearing about, Josh?
Hey, Alexander. Lovely to be here. Yeah, it's such a fundamental question. What is marketing and why do we do it? And yeah, so this topic actually came up recently. I was chatting with some of our Amplify members, and in particular, one company where there was a bunch of them. You know, the Amplify program is open to a number of seats, so you can bring in leaders from different departments, so that they're all on the same page when it comes to marketing. And there was this disconnect of the marketing, the head of marketing, and then the kind of head decision maker or the CEO, the person that they're reporting to, not seeing eye to eye, not in their language, not in their understanding of marketing spend, not in their understanding of why they're doing things. And one of the big disconnects was, well, the marketing department kind of sits outside of, let's say, logistics or sales, where there's a pretty clear correlation between action and result. It's generally time-based. It's quite predictable. There's probably a case study for it somewhere. If you buy a bigger, faster truck, you get more stuff delivered in a faster time period, right? Pretty clear to understand what my return is on that investment. And so this topic came up of like, how do we get everyone on the same page, speaking the same language, and understanding why it is what we're doing. So that was the big ask that came out of a recent discussion, and I just think it's a fascinating question to ask and a great opportunity to go back to fundamentals and look at this topic. Yeah.
So we've got some misunderstandings, it sounds like, around why does it matter? What is it in the first place? But then also, how do we know if it's working?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that piece for the decision maker, for the person signing off on budget and strategy, that's the big piece. It's like
the person writing the checks wants to know if it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm looking at, we were joking about raffling a Ferrari as a marketing ploy. That is a big spend. There are such big spends. If you think of branding out 50 buses in a city, there's so many ways in which marketing can be spent. Let's get some celebrity to post something, is the direct result there? I guess it also depends who you listen to and who your source of truth in this conversation is as well. So yeah, it's a great topic and one that I'm really looking forward to digging into with you. And
so let's start at that most foundational level here of, well, why does it matter in the first place?
Yeah. Why does it matter in the first place? I think there's this idea that if we just put out a net, our customers are falling from the sky, and if we just put out a nice big net, we'll catch them, right? There's, everybody's looking to buy something from me, and they're either not buying from me or they are, and I just gotta catch these customers that are out there. And I think that's at the core of it, because that's just not true.
Right, but it's a nice idea.
Yeah,
we just went through talking about some of these marketing myths, and the reason why these things that aren't true are believed is because they're really nice ideas. I want them to feel good. Wouldn't that be simple. Great? Yeah. We just open up the marketing bucket, and then the customers just drop in. Great,
and then you just scale it up. There's a drag and drop button that you just scale up. And then
once I figure out how much money this customer takes to catch, I'll just go spend more money. And I get to print my own money at that point.
Yeah, because there's unlimited customers like this exact customer, and this exact technique will work for all of these other customers out there.
I mean, it's beautiful.
It's a very tempting idea and you know what I think as well is that, especially coming out of the post-pandemic world and this new kind of environment we're in, uncertainty is this new standard, resilience is this new buzzword that everyone's looking for, and you want to feel like you're safe. People want to feel safe, and if you can put this idea forward and everyone's on board with it in the meeting, the marketing director gets up and generally maybe they're charismatic, maybe they're, pitching the safety, this idea that they have, and everyone understands it's simple. And then you don't have to think about it for 6 months. If that's what you've signed off for, at least a quarter. And then we'll go, we'll think about that later. And
we're just going to make money in the meantime.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we look at what's been happening with so many businesses, because things got turned upside down, I think we're having to really go back to fundamentals, and that's what we're doing today. So
yeah, we've got to confront the truth. So the truth.
So what is the truth then? Yeah.
Yeah, the truth is you have competition.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
That's I think that's the hard truth that we've just got to face here. Is marketing is not about setting out the bucket to catch the customers who are just falling. They're looking for you. They're looking for you.
Yeah.
We just got to catch them. No, it's you're in competition. The problem is you don't know exactly who your competition is all the time. Sometimes you got a pretty good idea, but you also don't know exactly what they're doing, right?
Yep.
So if we think about Google search, for example, one of the common elements of marketing is we want to show up on the first page of Google. And I've talked to a lot of folks who believe that that's going to happen within about 3 weeks, right? Oh, we're going to get there.
Yeah.
The issue with that is all of your competition is also trying to get on the first page of Google. And so if all it takes is a good article, well, the problem is they are all writing good articles too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this is just one example, but this is applying to all of marketing. And if we take a step back from this, the true problem is actually the market share issue, which is that growth, like we were saying, doesn't happen in a void. When you are growing, you are actually increasing your market share. So what that means is other companies' market share is decreasing so that yours can increase, right? There's only a total of 100% of the customers in your category. And so if you want to take on market share, that means someone else is shrinking. And there's this competition for the same people. Your competitors want the same customers that you want.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not getting in front of them, somebody else is. And if you're not in their buying process, somebody else is. So, it's very similar. In Claire Brand, we talk a lot about kind of the laws of marketing, and the way that we explain them is using this idea of the laws of reality, of physics, and we kind of have this idea of there are immutable laws, and one of them is atrophy. Your body breaks down, your house falls apart, your car breaks down unless you are putting in effort. And this is true in marketing. Unless you are actively marketing, doing this thing we call marketing, you will be losing market share. You will be dying.
Right.
So that's why it's important. That's one of the fundamentals of why it's important, because if you don't do it, you will decrease in size.
And that gets to, and we'll cover this more in a second, but just a quick note on that is if the natural state of a business with no marketing is to decline, assuming that your competitors are doing marketing, right? So they're taking the customers instead. So the natural state of the business is to decline and to slowly decrease in sales. That means if your sales aren't decreasing, something is working.
Yeah.
Even if you're not growing at the amount that you want to be.
Yeah.
If you're not decreasing, something is working.
Yeah.
So we'll get more into how do we know if it's working in a minute, but that's just absolutely foundational.
Yeah, and think that it's so important that our decision makers that are listening understand this, that you as a decision maker or you as a marketer understand this, because expectation management is such a big part of, staying in the fight and showing up and doing what we at Clearbrand call the 20-mile march, which we'll unpack in a different podcast probably. But it's just basically you got to show up every day and you got to keep doing what you're doing. You can't
Gotta
just
do the work.
Yeah, you got to do the work. And I think then it's giving more space for the work to be done, because there's not this, 3 weeks I want to be, top of Google. And, having been someone on, before I joined Clearbrand, I was paying marketing agencies, I was paying consultants. And in those conversations, this wasn't stressed.
Mm-hmm.
I was sold on, we're going to do this thing and it's going to be great. This is how it's going to work. And all of a sudden we're into that. Here's the 100 tasks and this is what's going to happen straight after that. And then hold on, 3 months later, this is not happening. And what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
You told us and we wanted to believe you. That's the look in the mirror piece. And you're like, well, we wanted to rest in your hands because that's what you were saying. We wanted to trust you. But no, that's not what happened. So yeah.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of that goes into the next question, which is, well, what is marketing, right? If we know that we need it because our competitors are doing it and we've got to stay in the game, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, what is it? What is this thing that we need that is supposedly going to help us get more sales, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to be the ultimate goal here.
Yeah.
So general definition. Marketing is the set of activities that will get you in front of people, right? Make people aware of you and drive these sales. But that's really vague, and that could apply to a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So we've condensed that into 3 main activities, and then everything else is going to come out from that. Mm-hmm. So those 3 activities at Clearbrand are build memories, maximize availability, and reach the market.
Yeah.
And everything else is going to come from that.
Yeah. Just want to jump in there that it's frustrating to not have, well, this is exactly what you're going to do, and this is how you go viral, and this is what we're going to do, and it'll work for anyone, and it'll work for every company and any category.
Right. We've all seen the ads from the guru who is telling you that he's going to help you make $1 million while only spending 10.
And I think this is part of the problem, because our decision makers, our leaders, our guys and guyettes writing the checks, they're also seeing those ads.
Yeah.
And then marketing directors, we show up and we're like, well, there's this long process and we got it. We're taking on market share and we can't get on the top of Google in 3 weeks. And this other person who has an expertise in a bunch of other areas potentially, but not necessarily in marketing, will say, yeah, but I saw this ad from this guy and he said, he's got a course, $10,000, and, you can get straight on the top of Google and TikTok. Don't you know about TikTok? Don't you know about, where
it's
Gen
just
Z
so
is
easy.
working?
It seems so easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like to just kind of temper this thought process here with Apple and Google, right? We got these big heavyweights.
Yeah.
Apple is frequently touted as, one of the best marketers in the world.
Yeah.
But they don't always launch things to success. An example of this is the HomePod.
That's not true. I don't want to believe it. No.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
No, but you can't even buy the HomePod anymore.
Goodness,
Why?
I don't even remember what that is.
Because it didn't sell.
Was it like a Google Alexa?
Yeah.
Home
Amazon,
assistant kind of.
You're mixing all of your
I'm
companies
sorry.
here.
I don't have one. I don't have one in my house, but
you can buy. There's a tiny circular version of it, but the original version you can't buy anymore. It was this amazing speaker, So what's the problem here, right? I thought Apple was good at marketing.
Yeah, and they've done it a million times before, and
right.
Yeah.
And same thing with Google.
Anything they touch turns to gold.
Right. And then there's Google, who actually owns the majority of places that we do marketing, right?
Yeah.
Google Search, Google Ads, Google Display Network,
Yeah.
YouTube is owned by Google.
Yeah.
Google just shut down their Stadia program. This was their kind of online gaming platform, right? You'd subscribe. It's kind of like Netflix for games, basically. You'd subscribe, and then you can play all these games. And they just shut it down. Why? Because it wasn't selling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if it was selling,
Wow.
it wouldn't have been shut down. And they
Well,
know what people are looking for.
I thought marketing was easy.
Yeah. Right on. Okay.
So what do we do here? I think.
Well, I was going to say we come back to this frame that we have of building memories, being available, and reaching the market.
Right.
And applying that into the use case of whatever it is that we're trying to sell.
Yeah. Now, this is let's talk about the difference between these three things versus the way that a lot of marketing agencies and marketing directors are approaching marketing. So we've got this focus on building memories, maximizing availability, and reaching the market. Okay. This is kind of the why or the how of marketing. And this gives us the questions to ask, but it doesn't give us the answers. We have to go discover the answers. And so we'll talk about what that looks like in a second. But on the other side, most marketing agencies, and actually most companies, are looking for marketing agencies who are offering things like SEO and Google Ads and Facebook ads. Well, those are the answers.
Yeah.
But if we skip straight there, we didn't even ask the question yet.
Yeah.
Do we even know what the question is?
Yeah.
And that's why I like our approach. If I'm saying, oh, we got to do SEO. Okay, we can go do SEO. But why? What's our goal here? Oh, we got to show up on the first page of Google. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, for us, SEO fits inside of the maximize availability category, right? And so we're going to approach this, and this is basically being available where people are looking. So if somebody's looking for a product like yours, they might go to Google and type in something like marketing agency, right? Or running shoes, or whatever this thing is. Google is going to be a big player in how people find the thing to buy. So we want to be available on Google. Think about it like being in stock in a store.
Yeah.
So if we're all just focusing on SEO, well, that leads us to certain behaviors. We're going to write some blogs. We're going to try to rank on Google. We're going to build some links. But the maximize availability approach is actually we're going to start with the questions. Well, what's happening? If somebody searches for this thing, so let's say a real estate agent. Somebody searches for a real estate agent on Google. What shows up? Well, the truth is, up at the top, we've got Google Ads. And in fact, for real estate agents, we've got Google Local Ads, followed by Google Ads, followed by Google My Business Ads, followed by Google My Business Listings, followed by organic search. So if we've got tunnel vision on SEO, we just missed the top 4 locations that we could show up in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if we look at actually what's showing up in that organic part of the search results, well, the majority of it is lists right now. And this is a shift that we've noticed in Google over the last year or so. Lists are just starting to dominate that first page. Now, Google's goal is to provide people what they're looking for. So this is a sign that people like lists.
Yeah.
So if we're just zeroed in on SEO, we're going to miss all of this that we just looked at.
Yeah.
But if we're asking, right, and let me clarify that a little bit more. The SEO, if you're writing blogs and trying to get them to rank, you are not going to be able to compete with these lists. These lists are coming from companies like Yelp that have massive domain authority, that have thousands of pages that Google really trusts.
Yeah.
So how is it that you're going to go kick that out of the first position with this website that maybe they haven't been doing marketing in the past? Well, the short answer is you're not. Right? And maybe in a long, long time. And we can start doing that work now. But if we're asking this question about availability, this leads us in a slightly different direction.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about the Google Local Ads, the Google Ads, the My Business Ads, and the My Business Listings. Let's start there. That's at the top anyway. We can pay for all of those except for the listings, which we can create and start to refine. We're not going to show up at the top of the listings tomorrow, but we can start that work.
Yeah.
Then we get to the organic results, and we've got lists. Well, if we're asking the question, where do we need to be available? Where are people looking? Well, they're looking in those lists. Most of these lists you can just buy your way onto. So do that, right? Suddenly you're on the first page of Google, even though your website's not on the first page of Google, right? You're now just in the ads and in the lists, which is amazing. So that was a kind of a big tangent, but
yeah, but I think what's useful about it is that it gives some insight in for our decision makers who are listening to not get sold down the river by a marketing agency that has niched into one little action that's downstream from this more foundational question of reaching the market, being available, and being memorable to the point that a sale can happen when it comes to happen. And we'll talk about how infrequently that actually happens over a 1 year period, well, depending on the category. But at least the decision maker is coming from a point of awareness of why or how they can think about making this decision. Because the marketing agency, if that's what they've niched into and they've built a whole technology stack around SEO, and that's all that you need, and they've compiled a whole bunch of use cases that reinforce that perspective, then that's what they're selling.
right.
And if you're desperate and you just want to move on and have a solution, you're going to take that, and then you're going to think about it again in 6 months, and it's not going to be where you wanted it to be.
And I think one of the things that's attractive about that, though, is it's simple. Oh, we just got to do SEO. Right? It goes back to these ads that these so-called gurus are running. You can go make $1 million by spending 10. Great, it's the same idea, right? Oh all you got to do is SEO. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying don't do SEO. I'm saying
absolutely,
the approach, the questions get us to a better place. They are often going to get us to the same answers, right? We're still doing SEO for the majority of our clients. But the issue that I see here, and part of this disconnect, and that's what we started off here, is there's this disconnect between the people doing the marketing director or the marketing department in a company, and then the people paying for the marketing. Part of the disconnect is that it is complicated, especially if we're asking questions rather than just jumping to conclusions. If we pause long enough to ask that question, to go look at what's showing up on Google, and to say, oh yeah, where are people looking? What's happening in those places? If you're, is it Amazon? Is it grocery stores? Is it Google? Is it somewhere else? Suddenly, there isn't this like one size fits all. Do this, and you're gonna triple your revenue in 3 months. It's just a little bit more complicated, and generally, complicated things are just a little bit more difficult to engage with.
We're looking for that simple solution that's right in front of you, even if it's not true, because you want that certainty and you want to move on. Like, you've got a million things to do as a business owner and a leader of your company or your agency or whatever it is that you're doing. And I think another piece of it is that marketing leaders often don't have the language themselves to convey this meaning, right? This was some of the feedback that we heard is that the team was in the space, not only just the marketing director, but some of the other executive decision makers. And they were saying, oh yeah, now I get it. And then the marketing director is kind of side channeling to me, like, I've been saying this forever. And now all of a sudden that you're saying it, now it's getting through. And I think there's something there about having the same language, having the same understanding, and breaking through some of this cloudiness that surrounds marketing. That there's this cloudiness, and I don't really know what goes on in that room, and they're just on Facebook, and there's this disconnect, and
right.
I think getting on the same page.
And how is that actually going to move us forward? And So with this approach of build memories, maximize availability, and reach the market, how do we know if it works?
And
I think this is another. I think actually this is the hardest part of the process. What we really, really want is to be able to connect the dots in a very simple way. right?
Yeah.
We launched this blog article and it skyrocketed to this position in this many days. The truth is the rankings, they trend, they kind of go up and down a little bit though, as they trend in a certain direction. They're going to be slightly different for each person who does the search, right? And even the reporting on these results can be difficult.
Yeah.
Now, I can hear, just after saying that, I can hear a lot of the marketing folks saying, oh, this is, you're just kind of copping out a little bit here. We're able to report on things very simply. So let's talk about this a little bit. So what is it that you would want to see, Josh, if you're the one who's paying for the marketing?
Yeah.
You're not the one doing it. You're just paying for it. What is it that you want to see?
Dollar in, dollar out. Or I'm putting in this much money, and this is how much money it's making me.
Yeah.
In the logistics department, I just upgraded all the tires on the trucks. It cost me $10,000. We're going to be able to go 15 miles per hour faster. And that means in 6 months, we will have traveled this distance further, and that'll relate to this profit increase. It's a done deal. Great decision.
Right.
Sign it off. Great. Yeah.
Right. So we want it to be as simple as other departments within a company.
Yeah.
So there's multiple parts of marketing here. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. On the one hand, there are certain things that can be tracked in that way. But those things are generally catching the people who are actively searching, right? In general. So a Google ad, for example, this is very easy to track, right? You set up some goals in Google Analytics. You connect Google Analytics with Google Ads. You run your Google Ads. Great. Now, Google has integrated all this stuff, and it's going to say this person clicked on an ad. Then they went to your site and they filled out this form, and now you have a conversion. Great. We can look at the numbers and we can find out, did they close? We can look at, we can even start forecasting a little early and saying, okay, how many people does it take what is our close rate, our percentage there? And so each conversion or each lead is kind of worth this much based on our close rate. We can kind of forecast a little bit.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, the problem is, how many people are actually searching and looking to buy today?
Yeah, that is it.
And it's very, very small. There's a marketing law that's the 95.5 law. It says, in general, about 5% or less of the market. So that's not of all humans. That's of all people who might buy from you, right? Potential customers. 5% or less are in market today. So they're looking to buy today.
Actively looking to buy. They're going to buy something.
Right.
They're going to buy something in the category. They're looking for it. Something's going to be bought.
So if all that we want to track is dollars out and dollars in, basically what we are dooming ourselves to is focusing all of our efforts on that small 5% of the market. Now, that's the 5% that we can track easily, though, right? The same thing is true of like Facebook ads, right? We can track the click, we can track the lead from that, ... But these are people who are in market. And this is who most marketing agencies are targeting, because you can track it. Of all the people who are currently searching right now, who are going to buy today, we can track that journey because the journey is very short. They find us, they buy. Great. There's our dollars out.
We can optimize it over time. We can look at, these are the touch points. We can run tests on those. We can see which is improving. We can work on the sales script and see which converts a different percentage. And all of that can keep us very, very busy. And I think this is part of it as well, right? That can keep us very, very busy. But there's this whole, as you said, there's this whole other vast majority of buyers that are not ready today.
Right.
They're not going to click on that ad. Not, they're not
right.
Gonna,
and so
gonna...
often we're looking at the number
of... They're not going to do that search. They're not going to do that search. Let me clarify.
Right.
They're not going to do that search. Yeah.
So there's a lot of folks who might buy one day who are not searching on Google today. Okay. But even on Facebook, if we're looking at like Facebook ads or Google display ads, we can see how many people saw the ad versus how many people clicked.
Yeah.
And often it's a percentage, right? It's a small percentage that actually clicked on the ad. And we just view the rest of it as waste, basically, right? We're just connecting the dots. What was the cost per click? That's what we want to talk about here. We're going to pretend like all the people who saw it and didn't click, they don't even exist, right? They don't matter. They're not leading to our results. And so we either view it as waste or we just boil all of the money down into the number of clicks. And that's what we focus our attention on. But there's a problem here with that approach. So for the first question is, what are we doing with the 95%? If 95% are going to buy someday, but not today, we're ignoring
them.
Well,
that sounds like time. That sounds like memories.
Right.
If something's gonna happen in the future, then we've got the ability now to influence it because they might think of something that has happened right now, which for them is in the future. We're getting into Back to the Future moments of sci-fi here, but basically we can be in their mind when they're in the position.
Right.
We could also be in their mind if they search and there's an advert or we're at the top of a list, and that's this other effort that we're speaking about, but we can also just come to mind. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and that's the question then. How do we measure building memories, right? And the reason why I referenced the Facebook ads, just to connect the dots there, is every single person who saw your ad, they saw your brand. So first off, why would we count that as waste, right? They saw your brand. We also know that 95% of people or more are not in market today. So all those people who saw the brand, they might be in market tomorrow. They might be in market in 6 months or in a year. It depends on what you're selling, right? We talked about this in the episode on loyalty, but the main idea with this 95% is a whole bunch of sales come from people who don't buy very frequently. So depending on what you sell, cars, for example, that's going to be every few years. Toothpaste is going to be months, right? But a lot of sales are going to come from folks who buy infrequently.
Yeah.
So if we know that this whole group of people is going to buy sometime in the next 2 years, let's just pick a time frame there, next year or two, 5% or less are going to buy today. So what are we doing with that 95%? We're building memories.
Yeah.
That's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
We should be building memories with them so that when they go buy in 9 months, they're thinking about you because you've been building memories. But there's a big problem here, which is how do we track that? Right? If we're building memories, that means that they're probably seeing us around, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
lots of different places. Yeah,
different, especially if our availability is high, when our reach is high. They might see a Facebook ad. They might see a Google My Business ad. They might see a Google display ad. Depending on what it is that you sell, maybe it's on Amazon or something. Maybe they did some research last week, but they're not going to buy for 3 months. We've got a client that's a wedding venue, so maybe somebody's kind of been perusing, knowing that they're going to get engaged sometime soon, but not know when. So they're kind of potentially all over, right? Let's zoom in on this wedding venue because I think this is a really interesting example. There are all sorts of lists for wedding venues, right? If you Google best wedding venues in pick your state, or luxury venues, or private wedding, right? Or mansion wedding venues. So there's all sorts of these places that somebody could show up. Now, if you're showing up on these lists, you're not able to track those people because that's not your website. That's somebody else's website. And if they see your brand there and they don't click and come to your website, you don't know that they saw. But we do know that being on the list is what made you visible. And that's what started this memory building process. And if you're on a couple other lists, so maybe they're doing all sorts of Google searches, best wedding venue, luxury wedding venue, blah, 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 more and more. And you're on 4 of those lists and they didn't yet click to you. They saw you 4 times on these 4 lists. We can't track that, right? Even if on the form on your website, it says, where did you find us? Yeah. What are they going to say? Google.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So there's this
place. Where was the last place you found us?
Right. It's where's the place you found us that you currently remember in this moment? Yeah. That's all the form's asking about.
Yeah.
So we don't know that whole journey. And even if we ask, there's a really good chance they're not going to remember their whole journey.
Yeah.
And this is the difficulty with building memories and why so many marketing agencies don't focus on it, is you can't connect the dots. You cannot track that specifically.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody saw this wedding venue on these different lists, and then they saw a Facebook ad, and then they saw a Google display ad, and then they finally just typed the URL directly into their web browser.
Yeah.
We have no clue. All of the places that they just experienced this brand.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting to hear you speaking about it like this, because it brings me back to a timeline. It's, how close is your focus? Where is your focus in time? I'm thinking of, the kind of classic investment firms that are, long-term investments and slow growth and building out, compared to like the NFT craze or like the crypto mining craze, which is like, it's just, everybody's talking about it. This is the thing to do. Okay, let's, and that 5% probably moves quite quickly in a bunch of different places. So very quickly people can say, oh, well, you see, look there, those people, they launched an NFT and they made $100 million. So NFTs must be solid. Let's all do it. But when we all do it, the 5% is done. They've bought. They've either made or they haven't made. They're burnt or they're not burnt. But it's done. And then we're on to the next thing, because the vast majority of us who now it's time to buy, it's a different timeline, right? They weren't. So it kind of, instead of, what it reminds me of? I was one of my first jobs, early job was, I was a client relations officer at a hotel a boutique hotel on the Mediterranean. And one day I had to go out, and sorry for the sideline story, but I had to go out and save a wealthy guy that had gone on a little sailing boat and gone way out too far. And I was on this little rubber ducky, moving the throttle fully forward and then fully back, and just slowly. I didn't realize that you got to put it slowly forward until the rubber ducky goes up, and then it kind of brings its nose down and planes forward on top of the water, and then can be controlled very easily. And because I was just responding in the short term to what was happening, I was putting it full throttle, flipped up, and then full reverse, flipped down, up and down, and completely out of control.
Right.
Versus slow and steady, checking in on what's happening, getting feedback all the time, and slowly moving in a direction. So that's the story that comes to mind.
Well, and that's a great story.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've seen so many folks do. They throw all their money into one thing. Oh, it didn't work. And they pull it all out. They throw all their money into
something else. Yeah.
Right. But what we want to do, we exactly want to do what you're talking about with that boat. I was thinking about athletic greens. I've mentioned this before. I'm an athletic greens customer. I think it's great. That took my wife and I about a year to make that decision, where we listened to a bunch of health podcasts, and we heard it on a number of podcasts, multiple podcasts. So that built up a whole bunch of trust. We saw some Facebook ads and stuff. And then it was finally one day when we were reviewing our budget, and we were looking to make some changes to our supplement regimen. That's when we made the decision. And we couldn't even remember the 10% off codes or whatever that some of these podcasters had shared. So we just went there and we bought it. We went straight to the site. So what that means is the podcast, the Facebook ads, all of it worked. It all contributed to this decision.
Yeah.
But Athletic Greens has no clue, because in their world that they can track, we went straight to the site and we bought without any kind of coupon or discount code that would have clued them in to where we heard about them. Right. But it all worked. It all contributed to that decision. It all built memories,
Yeah.
And that's just a tough thing. The other thing with ads that I'll say before we move on here is ads do not have an immediate and sudden increase, even if we're running them, increase on sales, even if we're running them perfectly. What ads are going to do is increase sales by a slight percentage over the long term, right? Because we're showing the ads to a bunch of folks who are not buying today. So today we're only capturing a certain percentage of the small percentage that is currently in market, those who see the ads, those who are compelled by them, right? But we're building memories with everyone else. And so it kind of layers onto the sales that we would have gotten. And that makes this difficult for a whole different reason, right? Even though we're able to track it, it's not going to have this like 50% increase in sales overnight. We're talking about like a 1%, 1.5, maybe even a 0.5%. But that is going to add up in the long term to the overall sales, right? And if we're able to slowly increase that as well, but what research shows is it's kind of this, it lags a little bit, and it kind of trends up and trends down. If you turn the ads on, it'll kind of slowly trend the sales up. But if the person who's spending the money is looking at the person who's running the ads and saying, well, hold on a second, I didn't see this light switch effect, right?
Yeah.
They're going to miss it. And they've got to let it go long enough to let that trend up, because it's capturing so many of the folks who are going to buy next month or the month after that, right?
Yeah.
If you turn them off, it also does not have a light switch effect where immediately the sales drop. It'll trend back down as you're no longer building the memories. So there is this, it's that boat picture that you just shared. There is this kind of, we got to be open to that trending effect. Remember what we said at the beginning. If you're not declining, something's working, right? If your sales are not declining, something that you're doing is working.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about how this could be interpreted. Okay, we're talking about 1%, we're talking about 0.5% sale growth. And then a decision maker is looking at this other advert that's just popped up on their phone from this guru guy or lady that said, here I just got this ad copy. I just got this special ad copy, and it's just going to blow all of these results away. And the discerning, the need to discern. So I guess it's coming back to that question of the marketing director's in the CEO's office, and he's saying, listen, we've spent X amount of dollars on this. How do we know it's working? Is there a short answer to that? Can we just say, this is the process, the 5 and 95, the trending, do we have to explain all these things? At what point? It's again, this unregulated space of marketing where people can say whatever they want to say. And it's not like in the financial space where you can't. Yeah,
you can't make claims.
Say anything. You can't.
I can't tell you how many sales calls the team and I have that start off with, we've worked with X number of marketing agencies and it's been a terrible experience every time.
Yeah.
I think that there's so many promises being thrown around, and I would rather have Clear Brand be known for not making the promises that we can't keep,
Yeah.
Now, to answer your question, I was having a conversation with one of our clients recently, and they were kind of giving us a historical summary of different things that they've tried and where they've been and what they perceived has worked and what hasn't worked. And one of the things that they noted was they were running Facebook lead form ads, right? So that's a Facebook ad. You click it, and it's a Facebook form that you fill out. And the ROI was just terrible. Somewhere around 2.5x. And this is before working with us, but I think it is a little bit of a picture of Facebook in general, which I'm just really not a fan of. But we do it if it works, you know. But in this case, we were looking at, did it work? And 2.5x ROI just on the ad spend. But you know, there was a certain period that they gotten 8,000 leads that they had to call.
Yeah.
And they so then you add in how many hours were spent calling these leads that did not respond. Yeah. I mean, the percentage of leads to bookings was 0.68%. And then half of those who booked canceled. So we had a zero, and again, I say we, but they had, this was before working with us, they had a 0.34% conversion of those 8,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to add in all of that extra time spent. So we go from a 2.5x down even further, right? I mean, they were probably losing between the cost of goods and then the ads and then the sales time spend and then the all that. They were losing money on these things, which sucks. But when they turned them off, all of their other forms of marketing got worse, right? And when I say forms of marketing, what I mean is their channels, their lead channels. I should say lead channels. So the number of phone calls they got went down. The number of website forms decreased. And so you have this odd interaction, right?
Yeah.
So even though they hated the lead forms, they were probably losing money on those. They were like, well, I guess we got to do something on Facebook because it is somehow increasing all of our other lead channels. Yeah. And I think this gets at some of the complication of tracking. So the simplest answer to your question, how do we know if it's working, is going to be revenue, right? And this is also why I've seen folks who will hire one marketing agency for one, you know, for Facebook and another marketing agency for Google, and they kind of like think it's fun to like pit them against each other. But the issue is they are impacting each other in what should be a positive way. And so if we're trying to like, you know, pit them against each other and you'll get the budget that you deserve based on ... they're going to miss out on the synergy effect here. Having those pieces positively influence each other. This is why I think that the best indicator is just overall revenue. And is the overall revenue going up or down? Right.
So I want to bring in back in that perspective of timelines. Over what timeline would you know? So the CEO is like, well, hold on, we've been running this advert for 3 weeks, 3 months. You know, as a marketing director, what would you recommend that they come back in terms of the timeline of this investment to marketing and revenue improvement or decreasing?
I mean, so as far as timeline goes, we're going to want to look at a long timeline, and that's going to depend on the amount of data. A lot of companies these days just are not tracking stuff. So I would want to be looking at what was happening before we started doing these things, what is happening now, right? If all you're looking at is the last month, it's basically just a quick snapshot, and you don't get to see trends. We've also noticed that channels kind of follow the 20-50 rule. So about 50% of revenue comes from 20% of channels, and about 50% of revenue comes from about 80% of channels. And what that means is, in the same way that we talked about in the loyalty episode with the light buyers, there's also light channels. So thinking about Coca-Cola, right? 50% of the revenue comes from folks who buy 1 or 2 cans per year. What we're finding is the same is very similar with channels. So you've got channels that over a long period of time add up to a significant amount of revenue. But if we're just looking at this little month-long snapshot, we're going to miss that, right? We were doing this with one of our clients that happened to have tracked so much for 3 years, which is rare, you know? And so we were looking at that historical data, and we if you look at the months, there were a couple channels. It was some of these list channels, $0, right? Next month, 15 grand. Next month, 0. That seems bad, right? Especially if you're zooming in on the month. Oh, that one didn't get 0. We should pull all of the money. No more money. But when we looked at it over the long term, what we realized was it was like 20% of revenue over that long period of time. Totally different story.
Yeah.
So that's where what I want to see is those trends. Let's zoom out. Let's chill out a bit. Yeah, you got to know if you're paying a marketing agency, you got to know if it's working. And so you do want to see it trending up. You know, you want to see if depending on the things that they're doing. So did they launch Google Ads? Like I said, Google Ads are going for the people who are looking to buy today. You can track that.
Yeah.
Great. Same with very similar to Facebook ads, though. As we said, there's less waste than a lot of folks believe there because it is building memories. But I'm looking at least a few months, right? Mm-hmm. And this is why we do our client services on 3-month contracts.
Yeah.
We know that most folks don't really want to have a long contract because they've had so many bad experiences with so many marketing agencies, right? And so we don't want to kind of trigger some of those feelings there. But at the same time, you do need enough time to build up a picture of a trend. You know, our goal with a lot of our clients, given this shift of Google towards lists, is to build up the number of lists that they're on. Now, we do not anticipate any of those lists bringing in like 50% of revenue on their own. Mm-hmm. If they do, that's great. We're going to pay attention to it. But we anticipate instead is that all of those lists will add up to a measurable and hopefully significant percentage. But one individual list is not going to like make or break the marketing strategy. Right? But it's the long tail effect. So you don't get the long tail effect, right? That 50% of revenue from 80% of customers or channels, you don't get that effect if you're not giving all of those light customers or those light channels the space to play the game, you know, to be in the reporting.
Yeah, it's I really think in images, and the image that comes to mind here is, you know, if your decision maker that you're trying to communicate this to is still not getting it, you know, despite using this language and these frames, you know, maybe a way to think about it is, you know, you could say to your decision maker, well, do you want to, you know, 2 guys go into a casino, right? The one guy is like in a Hawaiian shirt with, you know, it's unbuttoned and he's just flip-flops and arrived handbrake turn into the casino with a Lamborghini. And he walks in and he's shouting and screaming at everyone and everyone's looking at him. And he walks up to the roulette table and he takes a massive stack of dollars and he just puts it all on black. And he's like, come on, let's go. Let's do this. And he might get it right on that first spin. Right. He might even get it right on the second spin, on the third spin. But I guarantee you that guy is going home holding his underpants because he's left everything on the table because he came second best compared to the quiet-spoken guy that walks in through the casino doors. He's got a pen and a notepad, little briefcase. Maybe he's got a suit jacket on, maybe some glasses. Maybe they're orange tinted, maybe they're not. And he walks up to the 21, you know, the table of blackjack. He's done his homework. He's been studying, you know, the statistics of cards. And he sits there for 12 hours drinking water, mind you, not, you know, double vodka Red Bulls. And he's just playing the numbers, banking a little bit, playing the numbers. And, you know, you could turn around to your CEO. Which guy do you want to be? Right. You know, that, you know, I can talk to you about the reporting, how it's complicated, how, you know, it's very difficult to keep track of these things and there's competition everywhere. But at the end of the day, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the Lamborghini guy? Yeah.
I love this picture. The Lamborghini guy, part of why, I mean, this is the guy who gets the press, you know, and this is the guy who everybody loves.
Yeah.
And you think about, he's got the case study, right? Oh, I walked in and I handbrake turned into the casino and I put it all on black. And you know what?
I won. And I can win for you.
And he's got that case study. Let me tell you about this one time that this thing happened. And 105x ROI. You just got to do what I did.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Doesn't even realize that he was gambling because it worked. He did it once and it worked the one time.
Yeah. And, we've mentioned this before there are actions that bring results, but not for the reasons that so many marketing professionals think.
Yeah, and this is why we focus so much on the systems and the strategies. Our mission is to help businesses grow with data-driven marketing systems that consistently get results. That's part of our mission. It's not just I was on another company's website, and their mission was to grow happiness, and ours is focused on the process, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's if we are walking into the casino and we're not sure exactly what's going to work for this particular thing because everyone's a little bit different, and Google's always changing their algorithms, and Amazon's changing theirs, and YouTube's, but we've got the processes. And okay, these are the right questions to ask. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to follow that rabbit trail, and that's the right next step from there. And these are the processes that are data-driven that consistently get results. It's kind of like playing the stock market, right? The folks who try to play the stock market, if you look at the amount of money that is made, they make less money than the overall safe bets. But nobody realizes this, and nobody likes this information either, because the ones who are trying to play the stock market, it works sometimes. Mm-hmm. It just utterly fails most of the time. But we just hear about the ones that worked sometimes, right? Yeah. That those kind of safe, the safe bets with the stock market, you put your money in, you leave your money there. Yeah. Chances are you're going to make more money than that guy who's sitting there trying to play it all day and all night.
Yeah. And I think it's such an important one to remember. If your marketing director or your marketing agency is not respecting your case, your money, right? Mm-hmm. Because to them, if they spin the wheel and it doesn't work, well, then that's just one client that didn't work, and they'll probably say it was your product anyway.
Right. They'll just blame you.
If it does work, then it goes on to the...
Isn't that nice, right? If you're sitting there gambling with someone else's money and it doesn't work, you can just blame them. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Oh, you're sorry. I'm sorry. Your product sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. But if it does work,
there's nothing
then it goes onto my testimonial side, and that's another case study. That's another reason that I can leverage that and get another Lamborghini. So, I think it's a great place to kind of leave the ball in your court as the listener. Uh-huh. And who do you want to be? And be aware of the seduction of the guy that wants you to be the Ferrari guy. Mm-hmm. Come on, you're not man enough. You're not big enough. Come on, you can do this. Just trust me. It'll be worth it. Come on, do this with me. Let's life's risky. Let's do it.
Oh, it's not working. You just got to spend more.
Yeah. You got to double down, double or nothing. Man. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, I like where we ended up here with this simple,
I hate being. I think that there's a lot of stuff that's going wrong in the marketing world, but I do like to approach things with this general sense of positivity, and I do like that picture there of. Yeah. I think that it is that calm, collected. Here's the process, right? I've got the statistics on each of these hands, and I mean, I'd love to count the cards, but even if we're not going to say that we're counting cards at that table, you can still play blackjack using statistics. Yeah. You can still know how the game works. Right. Deal with reality as it is, as opposed to picking and choosing these subjective experiences that mean you can do pretty much whatever you want. Yeah. So now we've covered a lot today. So I just want to do a quick recap here before we end end, unless you got anything else you wanted to cover.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I feel like that's exactly what the guy with the notebook and the briefcase at the blackjack table would do. So let's hear it.
Okay, so why, right? We went through why is marketing important, what is marketing, and how do we know if it's working, right? So why is it important? Because you have competition. Your competitors are doing marketing, and if you're not, they're going to take your customers, right? Pretty simple. So we have to be doing marketing so that we're at the table, so that we are engaging and working on not just letting our competitors take all of the pie.
Yeah.
So there's competition. That's why we need marketing. What is marketing? Generally, it's the stuff that you're going to do to get more customers, right? We break it down into build memories, maximize availability, and reach the market. Those are the three main activities. And then things like SEO and ads and blogging and all of that, they fall under those three categories, right? So SEO is part of availability. Google display ads are part of reach, things like that. And then how do we know if it's working? The most important metric is going to be the overall revenue. Is it going up? That's going to be a sign that marketing is working. Because if we remember at the beginning, if marketing is not working, the natural state of business revenue would be to decline.
Yeah.
So if revenue is going up, that's a good sign. Now we can get down and we can track some of the minutiae, but we don't want to make it all about that, because you can't, that misses the memories part. That misses the 95% of people who are not in market today. Yeah. And so that's why we want to look at the overall revenue, see if it's going up, because it's basically impossible to track all of the impact that marketing is having. We can track some of the simple stuff like Google ads, like Facebook ads. But if we only focus on the things that we can track because we can track them, we're going to end up missing out on tons of opportunities, especially in that building memories space. So we can track the minutiae. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying if somebody's tracking Google ads, that's bad. Definitely not, right? We want to track that. Yeah. I like collecting all the data we possibly can. But we have to acknowledge you can't track the building memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think just to close out by mentioning, this metaphor of the game of, this in this casino where there is risk, there is unknown variables, but there is a game and there are rules of it. We have packaged our understanding, our little briefcase of notes and data and processes, and we've made that available to different kinds of players in this game, right? Yep. We've got a level of our growth accelerator that is for the DIY startup, building out the site from scratch, building a brand from scratch. We've got the set of game for a business owner, building out a big marketing department or a small marketing department, looking for that ongoing marketing. And for the agencies that are listening as well, there's a set of tools for you as well in our growth accelerator. Just wanted to mention that.
We're handing our systems, our playbooks, and the how and the why and the what. Yeah. We also
come and join us at the table.
Right. Yeah. We also take on clients, and we'll do everything for you. I think that's a big part of this as well. So we've really constructed these options depending on. It's kind of like choose your own adventure. You need marketing as a company. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we've got a solution for any form of engagement that you want, from the fully DIY to the fully do it for you, and then some of those options in between.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, amazing. Well, thanks for the time. It's been a great conversation. We'll see you next week. See you in the next conversation. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Clear Brand Academy podcast, where we take the mystery out of marketing and help you get more leads and sales with a clear brand and proven marketing tactics. If you liked this podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to outsource your marketing to our team, go to clearbrand.com.